Welcome to Chandwell. This is the back of Pocket's Pool Hall on Market Street. Thrown up in the late 1960s, the building won the Hughes Medallion in recognition of its confident and forward-looking architecture. Quickly falling into disrepair, it stood vacant for most of the 1980s until becoming the Pool Hall in 1989. Scene of the locally infamous incident that injured visiting Southern Counties champion Jimmy the Jewel Thompson, the hall has, in just 4 short years, developed a somewhat edgy reputation that draws players from across Yorkshire. Or is it? The truth is, I'm not sure whether to keep it here, move it elsewhere, or simply destroy the monstrous thing. In this video, I show how I finished off Pockets, and ponder what next for Market Street. I based the model on the front of the old Fluid nightclub in Shipley. On Market Street, it's the building's back that is visible, so I was keen to make it look as back-like as I could. I decided to just model a dull fire escape door in the archway. I printed a mauve door and some mauve brick columns and constructed it from card and paper. I simply glued it into the slot that I'd already made. The other challenge was what was, in real life, the main entrance. I decided just to brick it up, with a hint at it once being a rear loading bay or something. I printed some mauve painted brickwork for this task. I regretted the way I'd constructed the building with its recessed doorways. This decision meant that to brick it up, I had to get a rectangle of card cut to exactly fit the gap. I got there in the end, and the bricked up wall looks okay. The roof was a simple rectangle of card. It tightly slots into the building's parapet, which helps square it all up. I covered it with a piece of Scalescene's grimy concrete texture. I pre-scored the edges so that they folded up and represented the inside face of the parapet. I finish off the roof by putting some tiling around the top. I was annoyed that I had a bit of a cutting error here and it was ruining the otherwise clean lines of the building. I decided to cover it up with a thick concrete awning. I roughly cut it and glued it to another sheet of card to make it 2mm thick. Once the glue was dry, I cut it out and wrapped it in the same mauve concrete texture as the rest of the building. I drew the sign in Inkscape. By making the O dark grey and then blurring it, I can add a couple of black circles to make it look like the O fell off. I glue the printed sign onto a stack of 4 sheets of paper, which I then cut out. I remove the white edges with a black pen, and then mount it on the face of the building. After adding a few other bits and pieces, I gently brushed on some dark grey Humbrol weathering powder. I tried to focus on the breeze block panel and the doorways in an attempt to make it feel run down and back-like. I've roughly placed the ground where it would be, and I have roughly printed something to represent the other side of Market Street. So this is where I am. There is no doubt that the building looks ugly, which is what I wanted. There is no doubt that it badly jars with the other buildings further up the hill, which is what I wanted. It is short, stumpy and monstrous, but should it stay here? I'm in 2 minds. Does it look too much like the front of a building, despite the grime and the teeny tiny blocked up windows? Will getting a realistic representation of the other side of Market Street be too much of a challenge? Does it look too ridiculous beside the 4-storey buildings? I've been debating all this with my channel members, and it seems like it's a roughly 50-50 split. I think I'll leave it like this for now, without gluing it down. I'm going to move on to the next building, which is another, but larger, commercial concrete monster. I'm going to base it on Dale Street in Bradford, just up from my inspiration for 19 Market Street. Look at that wonderful glazed staircase. It reminds me of school. Look at the concrete frame and the massive ventilation duct at the end. But then again, maybe I'll turn this way. Look at this thing. It shares some design cues with Pockets, don't you think? Whether what I build ends up sitting beside Pockets or beside number 19 Market Street, I think it'll be a super addition to the street, before the much more ornate Victorian buildings that will be at the bottom of the hill. See how I get on in my next video. In the meantime, here's a look at how I built the station canopy just over 1 year ago. Until the next video, thank you for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.